Welcome to our deep dive into the fascinating world of Greek mythology. In this video, we'll explore three iconic creatures: the Minotaur, Medusa, and the Cyclops. From the labyrinthine maze of the Minotaur to the petrifying gaze of Medusa and the mighty one-eyed Cyclops, these legendary figures have captivated imaginations for centuries. We'll uncover their origins, their roles in myth, and how they've influenced art and culture. So, grab your sword and shield as we embark on an epic journey into the heart of Greek mythology, where gods, monsters, and heroes collide. Let's dive in. Minotaur. The story begins with King Minos of Crete, a son of Zeus and Europa, who sought to ascend the throne of Crete. According to myth, Minos prayed to Poseidon, the god of the sea, for a sign of his divine right to rule. Poseidon answered by sending a magnificent white bull from the sea. Minos was expected to sacrifice the bull to honor the god, but its beauty so captivated him that he decided to keep it for himself. Instead of sacrificing the divine bull, Minos offered another, less impressive animal in its place. This act of defiance angered Poseidon, who decided to punish Minos for his arrogance and sacrilege. To exact his revenge, Poseidon caused Minos's wife, Pasiphae, to fall in love with the bull. Consumed by her unnatural desire, Pasiphae sought the help of Daedalus, a brilliant inventor and craftsman. Daedalus constructed a hollow wooden cow covered in cowhide to help Pasiphae satisfy her unnatural longing. Disguised within the contraption, Pasiphae mated with the bull, resulting in the birth of the Minotaur. The name Minotaur derives from Minos and the Greek word tauros, bull, meaning the bull of Minos. The creature was a monstrous hybrid, neither fully human nor fully animal. As it grew, the Minotaur became ferocious and uncontrollable, feeding on human flesh. Recognizing the danger posed by the beast, Minos sought a way to contain it. The labyrinth, the Minotaur's prison. To confine the Minotaur, King Minos ordered Daedalus to construct an elaborate structure. Daedalus created the labyrinth, an intricate maze with countless passages designed to be inescapable. The labyrinth was located near Minos's palace at Knossos and became the Minotaur's prison. The Minotaur's existence brought terror to Crete and became a symbol of Minos's power. However, Minos's hubris and the creature's horrifying presence also led to suffering beyond the island of Crete. The tribute of Athens. Crete's dominance under Minos extended to the city of Athens. After the death of Androgeus, Minos's son, at the hands of the Athenians, Minos waged war against the city. As part of the peace terms, Athens was forced to send a tribute to Crete every 9 years. 7 young men and 7 young women were chosen by lot to be sacrificed to the Minotaur in the labyrinth. This gruesome practice continued for years, symbolizing Athens' subjugation to Crete. The young Athenians sent as tributes were effectively sentenced to death, as no one who entered the labyrinth ever escaped or survived the encounter with the Minotaur. Theseus and the slaying of the Minotaur. The story of the Minotaur reaches its climax with Theseus, the legendary hero of Athens. Theseus, the son of King Aegeus, or, in some versions, Poseidon, volunteered to be one of the tributes sent to Crete. His aim was to kill the Minotaur and end the cycle of sacrifice that plagued Athens. When Theseus arrived in Crete, he met Ariadne, King Minos's daughter. Ariadne fell in love with Theseus and resolved to help him defeat the Minotaur. She sought the advice of Daedalus, the creator of the labyrinth, who revealed the secret to navigating the maze. Ariadne gave Theseus a ball of thread, known as the clue, instructing him to tie one end to the entrance and unravel it as he ventured deeper into the labyrinth. Armed with the thread and his courage, Theseus entered the labyrinth. He encountered the Minotaur at its heart and, after a fierce battle, slew the beast with a sword provided by Ariadne. Following the thread, Theseus retraced his steps and escaped the labyrinth with the other Athenian tributes. Theseus's triumph marked the end of Crete's dominance over Athens and the cessation of the human sacrifices. He fled Crete with Ariadne, but later abandoned her on the island of Naxos for reasons that vary across different versions of the myth. Themes and symbolism. The tale of the Minotaur is rich with themes and symbolism, reflecting human psychology, societal struggles, and moral lessons. Hubris and divine retribution. King Minos's refusal to honor Poseidon's will demonstrates hubris, a common theme in Greek mythology. His defiance leads to divine punishment, which manifests in the unnatural birth of the Minotaur. Pasiphae's union with the bull symbolizes the consequences of unchecked desire and the dangers of defying natural and divine laws. The labyrinth as a metaphor. The labyrinth represents complexity, confusion, and the inescapable challenges of life. It is a physical and psychological space where individuals confront their fears and weaknesses. Theseus's successful navigation of the maze reflects humanity's ability to overcome obstacles through ingenuity and determination, heroism and sacrifice. Theseus embodies the archetypal hero who sacrifices personal safety for the greater good. His willingness to confront the Minotaur signifies courage and the fight for justice, power, and subjugation. The tribute of Athenian youths to the Minotaur highlights the oppressive nature of Crete's dominance. Theseus's victory over the Minotaur symbolizes the end of tyranny and the restoration of freedom, love, and betrayal. Ariadne's love for Theseus drives her to betray her family and aid the hero. However, Theseus's abandonment of Ariadne introduces themes of betrayal and the fickle nature of human relationships. Legacy and influence. The myth of the Minotaur has endured for centuries, captivating audiences with its blend of horror, heroism, and moral complexity. It has inspired countless works of art, literature, and modern interpretations. Art and architecture. Ancient Greek pottery often depicts Theseus's battle with the Minotaur. The labyrinth has become a universal symbol of complexity and challenge, influencing designs in gardens, puzzles, and storytelling. Literature and philosophy. Writers such as Ovid and Apollodorus preserved and elaborated on the myth. Philosophers and psychologists have used the labyrinth and the Minotaur as metaphors for the human mind and the struggle to confront one's inner demons. Modern adaptations. The Minotaur has appeared in novels, films, and video games, often reimagined as a tragic figure or a symbol of suppressed fears. The creature's dual nature continues to evoke discussions about identity, morality, and the boundary between humanity and monstrosity. The Minotaur remains one of Greek mythology's most compelling figures. Its tale, steeped in themes of hubris, punishment, heroism, and redemption, resonates with timeless human experiences. From its origin as a symbol of divine wrath to its place as a central challenge for Theseus, the Minotaur's story captures the imagination and serves as a cautionary tale about the consequences of defying the gods and the power of human courage to triumph over adversity. Cyclops. In Greek mythology, there are three main types of cyclopes, each associated with distinct roles and characteristics. 1.1 The primordial cyclopes. The first cyclopes were born from Uranus, the sky, and Gaia, the earth. These cyclopes were not one-eyed giants, but were rather depicted as monstrous beings with multiple eyes. The most famous of these primordial cyclopes are Brontes, Steropes, and Argesh. They were considered to be the sons of Gaia and Uranus, and according to Hesiod's Theogony, they were part of the early generation of gods that emerged in the primordial chaos. These cyclopes were immensely strong, and their primary role in Greek mythology was to assist the gods during the Titanomachy, the great war between the Titans and the Olympians. In gratitude for their help, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades freed them from their imprisonment in Tartarus. As a reward, the Cyclopes forged the gods' most powerful weapons: Zeus' thunderbolts, Poseidon's trident, and Hades' helm of invisibility. The Cyclopes' role as master craftsmen links them to themes of divine creation and power. 1.2 The giant Cyclopes of the Odyssey. A second group of Cyclopes appears in Homer's Odyssey, where they are depicted as a tribe of one-eyed giants who live in isolated, lawless societies. These Cyclopes are very different from the primordial Cyclopes in both behavior and role. While the primordial Cyclopes were allies of the Olympian gods, the Cyclopes in the Odyssey are portrayed as primitive, violent, and selfish beings who live without laws or social structure. They are known for their brute strength and their isolation from the world of the gods and humans. The most famous of these Cyclopes is Polyphemus, the giant encountered by the hero Odysseus and his men on their journey home from the Trojan War. Polyphemus' encounter with Odysseus is one of the most well-known episodes in the Odyssey. In this story, Polyphemus traps Odysseus and his men in his cave and begins to eat them one by one. However, Odysseus outwits the Cyclops by introducing himself as nobody and then blinding Polyphemus after getting him drunk. When Polyphemus calls for help, he can only say that nobody is attacking him, leading his fellow Cyclopes to ignore his cries. This clever use of deception, combined with the strength and cunning of Odysseus, demonstrates the hero's ability to defeat even the most formidable adversaries. 1.3 The Blacksmith Cyclopes. In some versions of Greek myth, there is also a third group of Cyclopes who are master blacksmiths, skilled in creating magical weapons for the gods. These Cyclopes are often conflated with the primordial Cyclopes and are considered to have the ability to craft divine objects of immense power. According to later traditions, these blacksmith Cyclopes were responsible for creating such iconic items as the golden chariot of Helios, the bow of Apollo, and the shield of Achilles. This group of Cyclopes plays a crucial role in the divine economy, representing the connection between craftsmanship, divine favor, and the creation of powerful artifacts. The Cyclopes' work reflects the ancient Greek reverence for artisans and the belief that the gods themselves required mortal-like craftsmanship for their cosmic purposes. 2. The Cyclopes and the gods. In Greek mythology, the relationship between the Cyclopes and the gods is multifaceted. While the primordial Cyclopes are allies of the gods, the later Cyclopes, such as Polyphemus, are often depicted as enemies to be defeated. The Cyclopes in Theogony are an example of the older, chaotic forces that existed before the Olympian gods brought order to the cosmos. Their contribution to the defeat of the Titans emphasizes the role of divine craftsmanship and strength in the establishment of the new order of the gods. On the other hand, the Cyclopes of the Odyssey are largely portrayed as representing the untamed, barbaric aspects of the world, in stark contrast to the civilized society of the gods and mortals. They live outside the realm of divine order and law, residing in a distant and lawless land. Their existence reflects the Greek concept of the other, those who exist outside the bounds of Greek civilization and its norms. Despite their often antagonistic portrayal, the Cyclopes are sometimes shown as helpful figures in certain myths. In the myth of the birth of Apollo and Artemis, for instance, the Cyclopes are said to have crafted Apollo's bow and arrows, weapons of incredible precision and power. This act of craftsmanship for the gods demonstrates the Cyclopes' continued importance as skilled creators in the divine realm. 3. The Cyclops and the concept of the Monstrous. The Cyclopes embody the Greek fear and fascination with the monstrous. In both their violent, lawless behavior and their giant size, the Cyclopes represent the threat of chaos and destruction that exists outside the controlled, ordered world of the gods and humans. Their single eye is also a symbolic feature, representing a narrowed, singular vision that contrasts with the all-seeing eyes of the gods, who possess the ability to understand and control the cosmos. This one-eyed feature signifies a lack of understanding and perspective, aligning the Cyclopes with ignorance and brute force. In the case of Polyphemus, the Cyclops' isolation is highlighted, as he lives apart from the civilization of both gods and men, thus reinforcing his status as an outsider or other. The encounter between Odysseus and Polyphemus in the Odyssey is not just a battle of strength, but also a clash of civilizations. Odysseus, representing Greek culture and cunning, faces Polyphemus, who represents the wild and uncivilized world of monsters. The encounter is symbolic of the tension between the orderly, rational world of the Greeks and the chaotic, untamed world beyond. 4. Symbolism and interpretations. The Cyclopes' role in Greek mythology goes beyond mere narrative. They serve as important symbols of chaos, craftsmanship, and the untamed. Their one-eyed nature symbolizes a singular, limited perspective, which can be interpreted as a metaphor for the dangers of tunnel vision or the inability to see the bigger picture. This idea is reflected in their actions throughout myth, where they often act impulsively or without consideration of the broader consequences. Furthermore, the Cyclopes' close association with craftsmanship highlights the Greek admiration for skilled labor and artistic creation. Their forging of weapons for the gods reinforces the connection between the divine and human creation, where gods and mortals alike rely on craftsmanship to shape their world. The idea of divine artisanship can be seen as a reflection of the ancient Greek ideal of a harmonious and purposeful universe, where even the gods require the aid of artisans to accomplish their divine purposes. The Cyclopes, as creatures of extreme strength, also represent the raw, uncontrollable forces of nature. In this sense, they serve as a reminder of the immense power that exists beyond human control. Their connection to the forging of weapons and tools also underscores the Greek view of technology and art as both dangerous and divine. Medusa. Medusa's origins can be traced to the ancient Greek epic poetry and mythology, specifically the works of Hesiod and Ovid. According to Hesiod's Theogony, Medusa was originally a beautiful mortal woman, known for her striking beauty. However, she was not always a monster. Medusa's life took a tragic turn when the god Poseidon, who was known for his lustful nature, became enamored with her. In some versions of the myth, Poseidon pursued Medusa and raped her in the temple of Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war. This act, often depicted as an assault, led to Medusa's transformation into a gorgon. Athena, enraged by the desecration of her temple, cursed Medusa, turning her hair into snakes and making her face so hideous that anyone who looked directly at her would turn to stone. Medusa's beauty was no more, and she became a symbol of terror rather than admiration. There are different variations of this myth, but in most of them, Medusa's punishment is seen as disproportionate, as she was not the instigator of the crime. Some interpretations suggest that Medusa's transformation into a monster is a way to punish her for her beauty, as the ancient Greeks often placed an overwhelming emphasis on chastity and modesty, particularly for women. The Gorgons. Medusa was one of the 3 Gorgons, all of whom were daughters of the ancient sea deities Phorcys and Ceto. The other 2 Gorgons, Stheno and Euryale, were immortal and shared similar monstrous features, but Medusa alone was mortal. The Gorgons were often depicted as winged women with serpentine hair and a gaze that could turn men to stone. While Medusa's sisters were feared and terrible, it was Medusa's story that would go on to capture the imagination of generations, due to her tragic transformation and the later events surrounding her. Unlike her immortal sisters, Medusa's death was foretold, and it would be a pivotal moment in Greek mythology, involving the hero Perseus, who would become central to her myth and her eventual demise. Perseus and Medusa. Medusa's most famous myth centers around her death at the hands of the hero Perseus. Perseus, a son of Zeus and the mortal Danae, was one of the great heroes of Greek mythology, known for completing impossible tasks, often with the help of divine intervention. His quest to slay Medusa came as part of a larger set of challenges given to him by King Polydectes of Seriphos, who wished to rid himself of Perseus. To aid Perseus in his quest, the gods provided him with several magical items: a reflective bronze shield from Athena, winged sandals from Hermes, a sword from Hephaestus, and a helm of darkness from Hades, which made him invisible. Armed with these tools, Perseus set out to find the Gorgon's lair, a remote location where Medusa and her sisters lived, and where no mortal had ever returned from. With the help of the reflective shield, Perseus was able to avoid looking directly at Medusa, which would have turned him to stone. Instead, he used the shield as a mirror, carefully observing Medusa's movements through its reflection. When he was close enough, Perseus struck off Medusa's head with his sword. At the moment of her death, Medusa's blood spilled onto the earth, giving rise to 2 creatures: Pegasus, the winged horse, and Chrysaor, a giant or warrior, depending on the version of the myth. After Medusa's death, Perseus took her head with him as a trophy. He would later use the head in several other adventures, most famously to turn the Titan Atlas into stone and to rescue the Princess Andromeda from a sea monster. Medusa's symbolism. Medusa's story is often interpreted as a complex symbol of power, punishment, and transformation. There are several layers of meaning that can be drawn from her myth. The power of the gaze. Medusa's most famous characteristic is her ability to turn anyone who looks at her into stone. This power is both terrifying and fascinating. On one level, it represents the dangerous power of the female gaze, an idea that has often been explored in feminist interpretations of the myth. Medusa's gaze can be seen as an expression of rage and revenge against those who would objectify or harm her. Her transformation into a monster can be interpreted as a defensive mechanism. a way of asserting her control over the world and the people who might seek to harm her. The fear of female power. In many ways, Medusa's myth can be understood as a reflection of ancient Greek anxieties surrounding female power. As a beautiful woman, Medusa embodies the traditional allure and sexuality of women. However, once she is transformed into a monster, her sexuality is distorted and becomes a source of terror. Medusa's transformation can be seen as a punishment for her beauty, and also a warning to women about the consequences of defying patriarchal norms. Victim and villain. Medusa's myth complicates the traditional narrative of victim and villain. While she is cursed and punished for something beyond her control, Poseidon's actions, her monstrous form and deadly gaze make her a villain in the eyes of most. In this sense, her story can be seen as a tragic exploration of how women who suffer from violence or trauma can sometimes be blamed for their suffering and turned into societal pariahs. Modern feminist interpretations of Medusa's myth often focus on her role as a victim of patriarchal oppression, who is punished for her victimhood and ultimately transformed into a figure of fear and revulsion. Medusa and the hero's journey. Medusa's death at the hands of Perseus fits into the archetypal hero's journey, in which the hero is tasked with slaying a monster or overcoming a great evil. In this framework, Medusa is the monster that must be vanquished in order for Perseus to complete his quest. However, when examined more deeply, the myth of Medusa challenges the idea of a simple villain who must be defeated for the greater good. Medusa is a tragic figure, and her story forces the audience to confront questions about the nature of evil, the consequences of divine punishment, and the morality of the hero's actions. Medusa in art and culture. Medusa's image has endured throughout the centuries and has appeared in countless works of art, literature, and popular culture. In ancient art, she was often depicted as a terrifying figure with snakes in her hair, a wide, gaping mouth, and a monstrous appearance. The most famous image of Medusa from antiquity is likely the Gorgonian, an image of her head that was often used as a protective emblem on shields, pottery, and even coins. The Gorgonian represented the idea of warding off evil, using Medusa's terrifying image as a form of apotropaic magic. In later art, Medusa continued to be a popular subject. In Renaissance art, for example, artists like Caravaggio depicted her in more humanized forms, focusing on the emotional impact of her transformation and death. In his famous painting Medusa, 1597, Caravaggio depicted the moment of Medusa's death with a look of horror on her face as Perseus strikes off her head. This version of Medusa emphasizes the tragic, human aspect of her character, showing her as a victim rather than a mere monster. Medusa's influence extended beyond classical art and mythology into modern pop culture, where she has appeared in films, books, and television shows. In many of these modern interpretations, Medusa's image is often reimagined to explore themes of power, revenge, and transformation. From the 1981 film Clash of the Titans to the 2010 remake, Medusa remains an iconic character, embodying both horror and beauty. Thanks for joining us on this mythological adventure. We've uncovered the secrets of the Minotaur, Medusa, and the Cyclops, and explored their lasting impact on Greek mythology and culture. If you enjoyed this deep dive into these legendary creatures, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on more mythological tales. Share your thoughts in the comments. What's your favorite Greek mythological creature? We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep exploring the world of myths, legends, and heroes. See you in the next video.